Everyone has a story. Sometimes you might think your life isn't very interesting, that you haven't traveled very far or done a lot of exciting things or met some famous people. But believe me, there's no such thing as an uninteresting life or an uninteresting person. Several years ago, A&E Network ran a series called Biography, and the byline was, "Every life is a story." And there's an African proverb that goes like this: when an old man dies, it's a library that is burned to the ground. The saying means that African oral history is especially valuable and suffers a great loss with the death of each elder. How many of us wouldn't love to have a little more time to ask our grandparents or parents who might be many years gone lots of questions? Like, where did you first meet the love of your life? What was growing up like for you? What was the most wonderful thing that ever happened to you? But alas, they're not here to answer. And when we were young, we just weren't interested in those things. Not too long ago, I came across the book Stories I Ain't Told Nobody Yet by Joe Carson, an author of poems, plays, short stories, and essays who lives and works in Tennessee. In her preface, she writes, "The pieces all come from people. I never sat at my desk and made them up. I heard the heart of each of them somewhere. A grocery store line, a beauty shop, the emergency room, a neighbor across her clothesline to another neighbor. I am an eavesdropper, and I practiced being invisible to get them." I'd like to share a few lines from her last entry. "I'd rather you come back now and got my stories. I've got whole lives of stories that belong to you. I could fill you up with stories, stories I ain't told nobody yet. Stories with your name, your blood in them. Ain't nobody gonna hear them if you don't. And you ain't gonna hear them unless you get back home. When I'm dead, it will not matter how hard you press your ear to the ground." I'm afraid we're losing the art of storytelling. We don't take, or we don't make, the time it takes to tell stories and to listen. Our communication is too often limited to a cryptic text on a cell phone. Many times we don't even take the time to leave a voicemail because we figure nobody will listen to it anyway. What stories do you remember hearing from your parents or your grandparents? A while back, I started writing short memories of things from my childhood when I was growing up. I don't know if anybody will ever read them, but I've sure enjoyed writing them down. When we were on vacation in July, I even read some of them to my nieces and my nephew. They seemed to enjoy them, but it's all handwritten, so someday the next generation might not be able to read them because they're in cursive. We're all storytellers, and we all have stories to tell. Sometimes we go off script and exaggerate or purposely leave out certain details, but the stories and how we tell them are who we are. The stories that we tell will live on long after we're gone. So now that we're near the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas, build some storytelling time into your family time together. What's your favorite memory of Thanksgiving gatherings? Was there a special dish that Grandma made or some disaster in the kitchen that's still talked about? How about the best Christmas ever? Or the funniest story about believing or not in Santa? There are so many stories you ain't told nobody yet. Time to get started.